Happy Monday, YouTube, and happy Labor Day to everybody. I'm enjoying my cup of coffee here this morning and just had a great weekend. And over the course of the weekend, I rarely, surf, my competitors that are in telesales, their YouTube channel. I rarely do that. And this weekend I did. I dived into several, and it's easy to find them. Look up Final Expense Telesales on Google search or YouTube. And you're gonna get 20, 25 people that call themselves experts. Some are agents, others are agency owners, some are gurus that are just looking to sell you some course. Nothing wrong with that, but that's pretty much what you see. For me, I've been doing telephone sales now for over a decade, and I know for a fact when I started on YouTube, there was definitely not as many telesales experts as they are right now. In fact, I could say with certainty that some of these experts a few years ago were talking shit about telesales. I mean, serious shit. They were discouraging everybody to do it. And then as soon as we hit COVID, they started changing the tune. As they say, they jumped on the wagon. But regardless, my focus here this morning on this video is not to talk shit about people, but I really want to make a couple of observations myself. And for those of you guys that don't know, maybe you're watching this for the first time, I've been selling Final Expense for 18 years. And for over 10 years, I've been on the telephone, developing, perfecting it, whether generating leads, as well as providing training systems for agents and companies when it comes to this. Over 10 years, and it's not been easy. I tell this story all the time. My first 3 years of learning telephone sales, I lost money because the learning curve was so difficult for me, and the advice that I was being given then is not the advice I give out today. So what do I mean by that? Well, as I searched through all of these YouTube gurus and experts, some of them had some good information, some good nuggets that I took from. But a big majority was of people that are calling themselves experts, but they themselves have never sold Final Expense at a significant level to create mastery so you can show somebody else. I just haven't seen it. One of the audios that I listened to this YouTube interview, the gentleman was interviewing a top producing telephone agent. I think he was doing $60,000 a month, $40,000 to $60,000 a month. I was intrigued by the initial part of the interview as they were going through the numbers. But then as soon as the person that was doing the interview asked the producer to role play, he crashed and burned because he recommended against scripting. He recommended that, hey, if you know how to talk to a lady, especially an older lady, that's going to get you through the door. And I cringed when I heard that. And really, there was nothing of value that agent that they were interviewing brought to the table. In fact, when they got to the close in this example of them doing role playing, there was nothing there. It was just this logical beat up session until they buy. And that it really is what you see these days. There's not a company or a group that's either doing it or teaching it. There just isn't. I pride myself in that if you call me up right now and you tell me, show me, let's get on the phones. First thing I'm going to tell you is let's bring your leads. You got any old leads laying around? Bring them. And me and you were going to call them so I could show you firsthand. And agents love that because they're able to see me handle objection in a systematic way, not just all over the place. Let me share this with you guys. When people get caught up, right? In this case, they were interviewing this gentleman that had this big production. But there was one part of the interview that was never touched on. And that was, how much did you invest in leads that month to do 40, 60,000? Because it's a numbers game. And I understand very well that if I send you more leads than you can handle, eventually you're going to make sales. But at what cost? When the agent is not trained on how to make a good sales presentation, predictable every single time, they are not trained on how to close deals systematically every single time, and also they're not trained on the importance of follow-up on the leads that they don't close today, they're not going to win. Because I wish it was as easy as some of these gurus put it out there to just wing it. That you don't need a script. Just wing it. Present to them your credentials. Present to them that you're a professional. But when you're going through all those leads to make that type of AP, it's very expensive. And when you factor in the chargeback factor, it can get out of control. So again, it's so important as you're watching this, maybe you're looking at telesales, ask yourself if the person that's doing the teaching, he or she does it. Do they get on the phone and prove the concept? If they do, that's a great indicator that you got a good teacher. But if they don't, and all they're giving you is just like basic training on how to read an application, what products are out there, what to say in a presentation, but they're not giving you specifics, I promise you're going to burn. This gentleman today, I'm sure he does well. I'm sure he makes a lot of sales, but again, at the cost of leads. If you're a new agent, do you really want to build your insurance business just pulverizing through leads, paying a lot of money, or would you rather learn how to make a proper presentation, learn how to close realistically, and also how to follow up with all your clients? Give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you really get this 3 main trainings down. These are 3 main principles that are very important for every insurance agent. And I promise this, you're not going to get this training off a 1-hour session or you have a meeting. You know, what's funny is one of these interviews, they were talking about how they were taking just tidbits of training from certain agents, right? Just little audio clips. Believe me, guys, it takes more than just audio clips to train. In fact, one of the things that we do on a daily basis, me and myself included, is I have 2 to 3 sales meetings a day. And in those sales meetings, I take a roll call. I talk to my agents that are new. I ask them how they did yesterday, how many transfers they took. Out of those transfers, how many successful presentations they made, because I know that if they have a high presentation count, it tells me that their presentation skills are good. Then, out of the presentation count, we determine what their exact closing ratio is. So if they have a big presentation count, but a low percentage in closing, then it tells me that we got to focus in on those closing skills. Or we have an agent that struggled at the beginning with presentations, closing skills, but had great follow-up skills. So they were picking up a lot of applications on the follow-up side as they honed in on those other skills. We do this every day. And it's something that I believe agents and agencies should be a part of in training, because it is required every day. You know, managers that at one point in time sold and they're no longer in the business, I mean, they lose touch because they're no longer selling. And if they've lost touch, it's very hard to train. So to all my friends that are watching this, do your research. Check out what I'm saying. You go to some of these other channels, listen into how they're training on telesales, and what you'll find is that no one really provides true closing skills or presentation skills or follow-up skills. Very rarely do you find someone really preaching that. Give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you. Peace.